Grandpa Steele's member. So Bruce, how's your dad doing?
He's doing okay. He and Mom live in Marquette Manor on the northwest side, and Mom's short-term memory is not very good, but she's happy and pleasant, and she might ask you something that she asked you 10 minutes ago and forget, but she's doing fine. My father's about 4.5 years post-stroke now, and that set him back some. But he's he still gets around, still very interested in what the team's doing, and I know he's we'll probably move heaven and earth to be at Victory Field, assuming we open on May 11th, like we think we're going to.
And then what are the capacity, not to steal all of Howard's questions, but Bruce, what are the capacity guidelines for MLB and you all this year?
Yeah, I'll answer that. And then I feel like I should turn it over to Howard. I didn't mean to upstage his event today. My best guess right now, and these things are always guesses. If I talked to you 3 weeks ago, I would have told you we were opening in April, because that's what we thought then. But as of now, I think we'll open on April 11th. If I had to guess, it'll probably be at 25% capacity. We hope as time goes by that, it really seems like we're headed in the right direction on the pandemic as a state and as a country. And I hope that we can ramp that up. 25% long-term is not a sustainable business model, especially coming off of 2020. But I think that's where we'll start. So that involves a lot of pieces. You've got to have X amount of distance from the players in the field per MLB. And then you've got to have, as of now at least, you have to have 6-foot spacing between your friends and my friends, if we're not playing the game together. That involves resituating season ticket holders. It involves marking off areas. How do you handle the lawn? There's just a lot of moving parts to it. And we're still waiting on some guidance from the Marion County Health Department and how we piece all that together. But that's what it looks like right now.
No, I appreciate it. I can only imagine everything you guys have to go through from an organization to get back up and running. I mean, just for our little club, just when you think you have it figured out, you get a little curveball over a weekend and surprise the heck out of you. So thanks everybody for joining us today. If you're not actively speaking, please go ahead and mute yourself so we get the clearest audio possible. If you'd like to speak, unmute yourself. It saddens us to announce that Tina Runge retired over the weekend unexpectedly. So comes at a time of transition with our operations manager. It's not ideal, but the club and foundation boards are coming together to ensure the club's success. With that recent turn of events, we will remain virtual through April. Hope to have a social plan in the near future. We can't wait to see everybody in person. We want to give a big shout out today to Mr. Bob Baxter, who turns 90 tomorrow. So call or email Bob to wish him a happy birthday. We placed a card in the mail. My wife and I placed a card in the mail a little while ago. So if any of our new members are listening and they've got 10 hours a week to volunteer at Riley, he is going to need some help in the coming years. So we appreciate all his help over the last few decades. Please save the date for our golf outing that will be benefiting Kiwanis Foundation through the Kiwanis Legacy Campaign. So the Legacy Campaign had met its $105,000 goal. So we're just going to help increase that through the course of 2021. We plan at Eagle Creek on Tuesday, June 15th. There's information on our website, and we're looking forward to getting back out there. Our basketball committee put together a video that will be coming out very soon that recognizes our scholarship recipients. It includes an interview with our new member, our new IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig, along with a message from Pacer TJ McConnell. Please keep an eye out for that. And as we're going into next year, remember Mr. David Wright is stepping down after 13 years at the helm of that committee. So if anybody's interested in taking that over, please let us know. You might consider giving to our club in lieu of paying for lunch. Any amount would be appreciated. We'll put the link in the chat. And again, I'll tend to make a small donation for the time I save commuting from 96 downtown and back. That being said, I am going to turn it over to Mr. Lou Drexler, if that's okay, to introduce our Perry Meridian High School Key Club officers who are here today. Does that sound okay, Lou?
I guess I could do that. We'll try. I think Laura Holiday has been more involved this year with the COVID situation, but we have two of our current officers with our Perry Meridian Key Club, and through COVID, they have managed very well. They showed some good leadership. I sit on some of the meetings along with Laura as to their Zoom meetings, things like that. But I think you would be really pleased how well they conduct their meetings and things like that. So, but we'll have invited two of the members. Esther is our current president, and Ella is our current vice president, but I believe she's the president-elect coming in. And so we've asked them to kind of share what has happened this past year and what they're planning, what they're doing, and to share with our club. So I'll turn over to Esther or Ella, how you would ever like to do that. So if you unmute your mics and share with our club members what's been going on in Perry Meridian High School.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Esther. This year was definitely hectic because of course, the pandemic, but also because the officers coming in, we couldn't get trained properly for our position, but we made the best out of it. And our advisors, Laura and Mrs. Peters, helped us a lot, and Lou. And I think we adapted to our meetings well. Some students and members went virtually and some stayed hybrid. So our meetings were kind of cut in half. We had to do like 2-day meetings, and sometimes we had some people come in virtually and some people come in person in the school for our meetings. But Google Meet was a big help. And I think our club and members have managed that well. Although our club couldn't attend like the in-person DLC, we did attend online, and we had about 11 members join, and we had lots of fun meeting other Key Club members from other schools, and learned great scholarship opportunities that the Kiwanis funded, and projects like the Yellow Tulip Project. So I also want to thank Kiwanis of Indy for funding DLC attendance for our club. Some ongoing projects we have been working on are the weekend backpack for Perry Elementary kids and their families. Freedom Church puts the backpacks with meals together, and our club helps by donating the needed items for points. So we give our members points for that, and that's how we keep track. And this has been going on since the beginning of the year. It was a little
I think we lost your audio, Esther.
All right, Laura, if you want to speak up for a little bit.
Sorry.
We didn't catch that last part you said, Esther.
Yeah, so Duke from the Salvation Army, he actually spoke with us at one of our social general meetings, and because we did donate like to the Angel Tree over $800, which was pretty cool. Yeah. Laura, you can go now.
I think you summed it up really well, and really explained how you guys adapted to your circumstances. And Ella, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
No, I think Esther summed up everything pretty well.
Well, thanks for everybody's hard work. We appreciate everything, everybody kind of overcoming the pandemic environment this year, continuing to do a lot of good. Our club made a donation to the Angel Tree program as well. So Salvation Army continues to be a dear friend of the Kiwanis organization. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Marsh, who's going to introduce our infamous speaker today.
Thank you, Eric. Howard Kellman is truly a legend in his own time. He is a member of the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame, the Indiana Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame, and the Indiana Sportscasters and Sports Writers Hall of Fame. Whoever knew there were that many halls of fame to be a member of? I think you're probably a member of the most Hall of Fame's members. Howard has spoken with us so many times, he really doesn't need an introduction. He has been the voice of the Indianapolis Indians since 1974. We all enjoyed listening to him. John and I were sitting in our TV room watching some of the NCAA and flipping back and forth to high school basketball. And lo and behold, I said, that's Howard's voice, isn't it? And sure enough, it was Howard announcing the high school basketball programs too. We all know his voice well. We are grateful that he comes back to see us every year. And with that, I will thank you for being here, Howard, and turn it over to you.
I think you're muted, Howard.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know how I got muted because I was unmuted before, but thank you so much, Mary. And you mentioned those halls of fame, and that's really been wonderful. And I thank Max Schumacher. That's where it all starts, because Max is the person who hired me and gave me a break and was a wonderful employer, as well as is Bruce, Randy Lewandowski, Joe Zawacki, and those guys too. So it's been a dream come true. You know, people come to me sometimes and they say, what's your biggest thrill? Well, you can pick out moments, especially Game 7 of the 1986 Championship Series, when Billy Moore got a base hit with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the 9th inning, down by a run. You can pick that out. You can pick out this 4 straight championships in the 1980s. What I also must say, though, is the greatest thrill is doing the job on a daily basis. That's my greatest thrill. It's all about the experience, not just necessarily the outcome of winning games, which are important and nice, but it's the experience of doing it, which means everything and continues to do so. So do we have any Chicago Cubs or St. Louis Cardinal fans here? Well, I guess maybe you're muted. So well, the reason I asked the question is that the Iowa Cubs and the Memphis Redbirds, the AAA teams for both those parent teams, will be coming to Victory Field. They now are in our league. Our league is expanded by 6. It's gone from 14 teams to 20 teams. Our division has expanded. We had Indianapolis, Louisville, Toledo, and Columbus. In addition to those 4 teams, we have the Iowa Cubs, the Omaha Storm Chasers, and the St. Paul Saints. So we have 3 more teams in our division. And in the South Division, we have the additions of the Memphis Redbirds, the Nashville Sounds, and Jacksonville. So what do they call? They might be called the baby cakes or the crab cakes, something. I forget their name for the moment. But so we have 6 more teams in the league, and we are not called the International League anymore. We're now called AAA East. The Pacific Coast League is now called AAA West. And we're in the Midwest division of AAA East with our teams. Now, you're not going to see any major differences when you come to Victory Field in terms of what you see on the field. But I do want you to know about that. We have signed a deal to be the Pittsburgh Pirates team, not for 2 or 4 years, under old working agreements for 10 years now. Major League Baseball has taken over minor league baseball, and Pittsburgh continues to be our parent team, and they have been since 2005. So when you come to Victory Field too, one of the new things will be the Elements Financial Club. It is on suite level. It's absolutely beautiful. And that's a club that you can come with by organizing groups, or individuals can come as well. So please remember the Elements Financial Club. there. And Bruce mentioned the fact that we did some other things last year with no Indianapolis Indians baseball. And there's a good chance, as he said, those things will continue. And so that was something that was really neat, but it couldn't take the place of the Indians. And we had had a season every year since 1902. So 2020 was our first year without a season since 1902. And for me, my entire adult life, I've been broadcasting the Indianapolis Indians. And one of the strangest things was being home Memorial Day weekend, because we have a different schedule each year, but we're on the road Memorial Day weekend because of the race. Well, with no baseball, I was home. It turned out the race was postponed anyway a few months. But boy, that was strange being home Memorial Day weekend. And I hope I don't have to do that again and go through that again. So we opened the season May 4th. It was supposed to be April 6th. Major League Baseball pushed it back 4 weeks. And that gives an opportunity for more people to get vaccine. By the way, I'm getting the second vaccine at 2:00 today. More and more people are being vaccinated. As Bruce said earlier, the numbers are going down. So we're really excited. We'll open on the road May 4th. The big home opener will be May 11th, and that will be an emotional time for all of us, having not had baseball a year ago. I think that we should have a good ball club. Now, one of the reasons why we're going to prosper is the approach the Pirates are taking, in that they're trading established major leaguers for prospects, some of whom may be with us this year, some of whom may be with us in the next year or two. They traded Josh Bell, they traded Jamison Tyone, they traded Joe Musgrove, 3 key players on the Pirates, all former Indianapolis Indians, Musgrove briefly in a rehab stint. And they traded those guys, and they got more than 10 young players to join the Pirates organization, some of whom we'll see in Indianapolis. People always come up and say, well, what kind of team do you think you're going to have? Who do you think you'll have? Now we're starting to find out. For instance, yesterday, Cole Tucker was optioned to us, and he played in the big leagues last year, both shortstop and center field. I think he'll be our shortstop, although they looked at him in center field. He had an injury in spring training, and then he didn't swing the bat well. So they decided it was best to option him here rather than him not play every day. With a young player who has talent, you don't want him sitting on the bench. You want him to play every day, which is, I think, a big reason why he's come here. Will Craig, so Cole will probably be our shortstop. I think Will Craig will probably be our first baseman, although they've worked with him in the outfield as well, too. He's not on the 40-man roster anymore. He is assigned to Indianapolis. He cleared waivers and was outright. Now, mentioning the roster, here's a change. And, sometimes something works out well for one party, another party, but a change Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball made and done by Major League Baseball in negotiations with the Players Association. This would have taken place last year, too. It was done a little over a year ago. It's a great situation. It's a win-win, and that is this. Major League rosters have expanded by 1 to 26 rather. And what had happened was, come September 1st, you could expand up to 40. Now, for decades, that rule was looked upon. You'll call a player or two up here or there, and you'll reward him for a good season. That was the spirit of the rule. And in the last 10 years, it got changed from rewarding somebody to just saying, wait a minute, if we call this guy up, we can use him to pinch run in the 6th inning. If we call that guy up, we can use him to pinch hit in the 7th inning. And we can use this guy to pinch run in the 8th inning. One of the keys was the first time Billy Hamilton, who has tremendous speed, was called up by the Reds, just a pinch runner. So teams would, instead of having 27 or 28 players, they'd have 35 players up there. and it became a sideshow. And what other sport, no other sport, had different rules in September during a pennant race than during the regular season. So it had gotten out of hand. Something needed to be done. It also affected us adversely because come the stretch run or the postseason, our roster was gradually shaken up because we'd lose 6, 7, 8 players who'd be called up. So the new rule is this, is that Major League rosters went from 25 to 26 with 2 players being called up September 1st to 28. And that's it. 2 players will be called up. So that's a great situation, great for the major leagues, great for the minor leagues. So for all the things that are done, not everything is terrific, but that thing is. So we're really happy about that. And we're excited about the season. The last 2 seasons, 18 and 19, on the field didn't go quite the way we wanted to. We had a 4.5 game league with 25 games to play in 2018, didn't hold it. And in June of last year, 2 months into the season, we were 2.5 in front and didn't hold that either. We didn't have a good second half. So we'll see. The Pirates, since we last played, have shaken up their entire front office. New president, new general manager, new farm director. So a lot of changes have occurred. While we're still with the Pirates, they have new people with whom we're dealing and who are running the show. So we'll see there. One guy who we're not sure, and Bruce and I were discussing this yesterday, O'Neill Cruz, he's one of the Pirates' top prospects. The young man is 6'7", yet a shortstop, which is hard to believe, but he can handle it. There is the possibility they may move him to the outfield. We're not sure yet if he's going to start in Indianapolis or in AA Altoona, because he was optioned or assigned. He may not be on the 40-man roster yet. He might not have to be, but he will be in the minor leagues this year, and they like him a lot. We'll have players like Kevin Kramer back, who's an infielder, can play second base, third base, also plays a great game of golf. And he's a UCLA guy, played on a national championship team at UCLA. And I'm talking baseball, because when I think national championship teams at UCLA, I think of John Wooden immediately and the 10 that he won. But on a baseball national championship, a couple of pitchers I think will be back, Clay Holmes and James Marvel. And so the roster is starting to take form. Mitch Keller, who did a good job for us in 2019. I won't say a great job because he didn't protect leads a few times, but he did a good job. He pitched in the big leagues last year. He was injured part. He only made 5 or 6 starts. Well, he's had a challenging spring training, but they're counting on him very heavily. The other thing that affects our roster are injuries to the parent team. And a couple of them, Stephen Brault will be out more than a month. He has a muscle strain. He may have been the Pirates' opening day pitcher, former Indianapolis Indian lefty. He did pretty well for the Pirates last year, had an ERA under 4, was named their pitcher of the year. But unfortunately, a few days ago, he got hurt. So he'll be on the shelf for a while. Blake Cederland, hard-throwing right-hander who may have made the big club this year, was with us 2 years ago. He has to have Tommy John surgery. What is happening is with Tommy John surgeries, you're seeing them left and right, and that is the ulnar collateral ligament. And the reason is from these times these kids are 12, 13, maybe even younger than that, 12, 13 years old. All they think about is throwing hard, is looking at the radar gun. That's what they think about. And scouts are looking that way too, and teams are looking that way too. And so the game has gotten to a point where sometimes it's not how well you pitch, it's how hard you throw. And when you throw maximum effort, pitch after pitch, your arm breaks down. That's why we're seeing some kids. We had a pitcher named Adrian Sampson a few years ago. He had Tommy John surgery at age 17. And so the guy who speaks out the most about this, how unfortunate it is Tommy John himself, the first man to have that surgery. And by the way, Tommy John is a Hoosier from Terre Haute, won 288 games in the major leagues, the most of any lefty who's not in the Hall of Fame. He also, by the way, was a terrific basketball player. He came out of Terre Haute Gersmeyer in 1961, and in the state championships, and I forget which round it wasn't the championship game, but it was close. They played Manuel and the Van Arsdales, Dick and Tom Van Arsdale. And Tommy said there was only one problem. There was one of me and two of them. And that's why we didn't win. But he was a terrific basketball player too. And I've gotten to know him. I worked the AAA World Series with him. In a few minutes, we'll get to any questions that you might have. And so I mentioned those guys. Brian Hayes is someone else worth mentioning. He was with us in 2019, fielded very well. His bat came on a bit at the end of the year, and he played briefly last season, played in the final month, and was magnificent, not only defensively where he excels, but offensively as well. I mean, he was superb. His father, Charlie, played in the major leagues for 14 years as a third baseman. So Brian technically is still a rookie, didn't have 130 at bats, and he's still a rookie and still rated the Pirates' top prospect, but you can be sure he'll be with the Pirates, and we're very proud of what he's accomplished. You know, he's won Gold Gloves in the minor leagues for several years, and that's hard because it's not a league by league thing. It's the minor leagues, all the minor leagues. And he was voted the best third baseman defensively in a couple of times, one of which was in 2019 with the Indianapolis Indians. So I asked him one day, I said, Brian, why do you think you're such a good defensive player? And it's really a thing of beauty to watch a good defensive player, a good infielder, the way they field the ball. Their hands are so soft and so quiet. And the first thing to remember when you field a ground ball is you're fielding it with your feet. You have to get in the proper position. But once you get that, you watch how quiet and soft his hands are. And his throw to first are so true and accurate, his throws. So I said, why do you think you're such a good defensive player? And he said, because when I was a kid growing up, my dad would always say to me, your defense is just as important as your offense. And he said that inspired me to be a really good defensive player, and he is just that. His dad, Charlie, mainly played with the Philadelphia Phillies, but is well known. In 1996, he caught the final out of pop-up of the World Series as the New York Yankees won. And he said, that's what I'm most well known for, but I played for 14 years. So another guy I think will be with us is a lefty named Blake Wyman. Came out of college to join the Pirates and had some arm issues with us 2 years ago. Fine young man from Colorado and terrific guy. And I think he'll be in our bullpen this year. I'm not sure about Travis Swaggerty, who is a number one pick of a few years ago. He may be in AA. This is all going to sort itself out with the Major League Baseball season opening a week from today. This all will sort itself out very soon. I thought we were going to have Carson Fulmer with us. The Pirates claimed him, but they tried to get him through waivers and somebody else, the Reds, claimed him. So he'll be over there. So that's a bit of a rundown. In baseball, you hear the term sophomore jinx. You don't hear it in other sports, but you hear it in baseball, and it's so true. And the reason is baseball is a game of so many adjustments. And what happened to two players on the Pirates who had terrific rookie seasons, two former Indianapolis Indians, in 2019, Brian Reynolds and Kevin Newman did not do well at all last year in the major leagues. Now, it was only a 60-game schedule too, so not a true test of 162 games. But nonetheless, they had their issues. Hopefully they'll bounce back. Even as great a player as Pete Rose was, he had issues his second year. And I remember talking to Pete in 1976. And Pete was Rookie of the Year in the National League in 1963. And the second season, he struggled a bit. And in fact, Ron Hunt of the New York Mets beat him out as the starting second baseman in the National League All-Star team. And Pete said, I had to make adjustments. I had to learn. It was a learning year. The pitchers made adjustments to me. And then you look at Pete's numbers after 1964, from 1965 on, and you'll see 300, 300, 300 plus for batting averages all those years. So it's a game of adjustments. And those two players, Reynolds and Newman, had adjustments made against them, and we'll see if they readjust against opposing pitchers. You know, you get a book on somebody. Most hitters, almost all hitters, have some kind of weakness. Not everyone, but almost all of them. Like Hank Aaron, who recently passed away, he did not have a weakness. So when you find somebody like that, all you could try to do is mix things up. Willie Mays, as great as he was, didn't like to be crowded, nor did Mickey Mantle. So some players, most players do have weaknesses, even great ones, and the pitchers learn and they go after that. Then it's up to the hitters to adjust in those circumstances. So I think I've covered most of what I wanted to cover. Did I mention James Marvel, right-handed pitcher? I think he'll be in our bullpen too. And he is a Duke man. He was with us a couple of years ago. He's an old school pitcher. He doesn't throw hard at all, but he has great control. He's a great competitor, you know, and makeup in the game of baseball means everything. Makeup means everything. And when I say that is, you have to be able to handle failure. You have to be able to handle success. And not only must you be able to handle those two things, you have to do it just about every day. As Earl Weaver, the Hall of Fame manager of the Baltimore Orioles, once said, this isn't football. We do this every day around here. And so there are some guys who I've seen over the years who could have made it if they didn't have to do it every day, if they had to play only once or twice a week. It is a demanding game. It's demanding physically on your body because you play every day, but it's also demanding mentally. And how you handle failure in the end determines how successful you're going to be. You know, you can have a rough day or two. Now they look at videotape all the time, but the most important thing when you have these challenges is to stay positive. Because when you stay positive, you can minimize your slumps. A lot of guys don't do that, and they get deeper and deeper and deeper into slumps. And on the other hand, when you have 2 hits on a given day, when you have 2 hits, your first 2 times up, you know what happens the rest of the day. No matter what happens, you've had a good day. Well, how do you handle it when you've had 2 hits your first 2 times up? Do you want that 3rd hit, or are you going to deviate and say, now I'm going to try to hit a home run and get out of your game, pull your head, pull your shoulder? This is what some players do. So in the end, how you handle failure, how you handle success will determine how successful you will be. We like to see guys, excuse me, we like to see guys deal with failure in the minor leagues before they get to the big leagues. Once in a while, a player just shoots right through, gets to the big leagues, and then all of a sudden he goes into a slump, because even your Hall of Famers have slumps, and he doesn't know how to handle it. So if you have some challenges during the minor leagues, if you have some challenges, then you have a frame of reference, and your self-confidence will be better about coming out of the slump. So, you know, there are challenges in this game every single day. The skills of hitting and pitching are very, very difficult skills, because no matter how good you are, you're not going to succeed as a hitter most of the time. Years ago, pitchers went 8-9 innings. They were expected to do that. The game has changed now. They're only going 5 or 6 innings. They're often being pulled the minute they get in a jam, which I don't think is good. And you saw Kevin Cash do that with Blake Snell during the World Series last year, and it blew up in his face. He took him out of the game for no reason at all. And they brought in a new pitcher, and the relief pitcher didn't have it, and it cost Tampa Bay big time. He did the same thing in the league championship series with former Indianapolis Indian pitcher Charlie Morton, but he got away with it there because the bullpen held on. So the game has changed in that regard. in that you have starting pitchers working 5 and 6 innings instead of 8 and 9 innings. You have a 7th inning relief pitcher, an 8th inning relief pitcher. It used to be you try to get into somebody's bullpen because those pitchers were not as good. Now you go into the bullpen and you see every team's got guys throwing 98 miles an hour, which is difficult to hit. A lot of them without good control, but that's what's the way the game's changed. I think they're saying they're deadening the ball this year a bit, which is a good thing. I think it should be more difficult to hit home runs. The game has an issue with a lot of home runs and strikeouts, and we need to cut back on those, and any way to find that and making it more difficult to hit home runs would be good. We need more balls put in play. The average time in the International League in 2015, when we installed a pitch clock, went from 2 hours and 56 minutes to 2 hours and 41 minutes. It was a great thing. A pitch clock is needed in Major League Baseball. But what happened by 2018 and 19, there were so many more strikeouts that the time of the games went up. There's nothing better than a first pitch ground ball to shortstop or a line drive base hit to left center. There's nothing better than something happening on the first or second pitch of a plate appearance, because that makes it more exciting. A triple is a great play. Stolen bases are great. They're going to change. They're making some changes in the minor leagues, and the change in our league will be the bases, which are 15-inch squares and always have been, will now be 18-inch squares. So that might give an opportunity to steal some more bases, and we'll see what happens. In Double-A baseball, they're making a change where everybody has to be on the infield. You can't, all the infielders, you can't get way back, and they're thinking about banning shifts in the second half of the season. Shifts are another change in the game, and we had them years ago occasionally, and they could be stopped easily if players went against them, laid down a bunt, swung the opposite way, but players aren't doing that. So they may even ban shifts. Like somebody said, well, they banned zone defenses from the NBA for a while. They did that. They may ban shifts. So we'll have to see what happens. But one change you will notice at Victory Field is that the bases will be 18-inch squares, not 15-inch squares. So now I'd like to get to the remaining time we have any questions and answers that you might have about the Indians. And boy, we're all fired up. It's an honor always to speak here, and we're fired up to play ball on May 11th at Victory Field.
Well, thanks, Howard. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. There have been a couple that I'll work through in the chat. So Howard, we had a question. Do the guys have mentors / training who can help young players handle the mental game as well as the physical? I mean, when you mentioned the shakeup within the Pirates leadership, where a lot of people are being replaced after a couple of years of kind of below average performance on the Pirates side, I mean, that stress has got to flow immediately down through the organization. So how do the young players handle that?
Well, it's a good question. And for years, you'd look to your coaches for the mental aspect of the game, because almost all of them have played the game, and they can help you. And it's their job to instill confidence in players. What has changed is not only do the coaches do that, but they actually have mental skills conditioning coaches. And the Pirates have had one of them. Every team has that. So they have those as well. Some of the coaches aren't too crazy about that, but that's another voice that can be heard. And those guys are there to help the young players. The game is all about confidence, and that's why you have mental skills coaches. And baseball, more than any other sport, because of how difficult it is, confidence levels will waver. They'll waver in other sports to some extent, but not the same way. If a guy has a rough day shooting in basketball, he won't go back to the hotel holding his hands here or there, wondering about his hands or his delivery. He'll just say, I'll come out of this and I'll be fine. And he may even do it during the course of a game just by keep on shooting. So, but yes, to answer your questions, there are different teams, director of mental conditioning, and most teams have at least a couple of those. Everybody has a few of them who not only help the major league players, but help the minor league players too.
And then we had a question on the salaries. What's a rough salary range for the rookies, as then up to the veterans who may have played in the big leagues?
Well, it depends upon if you're on the 40-man roster or not. And sometimes when you're a veteran player coming here, and that can, you can make a lot of money, but most of the guys are not making too much money. They're making much more than they were years ago. You know, some guys might be making $100,000 or $80,000, but the guys who are not on the 40-man roster, the younger players or some veterans, usually are not making much at all. They're paid per month, and their salary ends when the minor league season ends, as opposed to the 40-man players who are paid throughout the major league season.
And then would you mind just kind of reiterating, there's a question about capacity at Victory Field. If you could just kind of reiterate where it looks like, will we be able to congregate in the picnic area and the outfield, please? Yeah, thanks.
Well, I don't
Howard,
think
would you
we're
like me to take that one?
100% certain. Bruce can talk about that. I think he was hoping, he thought it might be 25% in the beginning. Bruce, anything you want to, I know you mentioned it at the very beginning.
Yeah, so I think that's where we'll probably start in May. If I had to guess, at 25%, hopefully we can go up from there. As far as the picnic area is concerned, and in any area really where we have a buffet line, that's going to have to be completely different. We'll still have it, but we'll have individually, you'll have your individually wrapped hot dogs, individually wrapped hamburgers, and your own container of potato salad and that kind of stuff. We'll still have them, just like everything else. We'll have to take full protocol steps. So yes, we'll have it. As far as filling the stands, not in the beginning. I hope if we can keep up the current pace of progress, that we can fill them more and more as the 2021 season goes along.
Well said.
That sounds great. So any other questions for our Indianapolis Indians speakers today?
I've got one.
Thanks.
What's regarding COVID, what's starting the season out, what's life going to be like for the team? Are they like a visiting team, just have to stay in their hotel room the whole time, or how strict is all that going to be?
Well, it's pretty strict at the major league level. So my assumption is it will be here. I think those things are still being formulated and figuring out. I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to travel in the beginning of the year with the team either, even though I will have been vaccinated. Major league announcers did not travel at all last season, and they're not scheduled to travel at the beginning of this season, although that's going to change hopefully. So a lot of things like guidelines are being formulated now, and things are getting better and better too. So you don't want to make a guideline on March 1st, where if you're starting your season, and it was Major League Baseball who pushed back our season 4 weeks. If you're starting our season May 4th, why issue guidelines March 1st, or right now even March 25th or 26th? So this will all be formulated. There'll be a set of rules. I would think they'll be strict. And Bruce, and I'm hoping that more and more players are going to get vaccinated too.
I think that's really a key thing when we can get to the point that players can get vaccinated. I mean, in Indiana, we're kind of spoiled. We've got, at this point, they're saying as of April 1, if you're over 16, you can get vaccinated. If you have players who are Indianapolis Indians, can they get vaccinated once they get to Indianapolis? These are all interesting questions. Or will there be some kind of general way that MLB would do it? I think MLB would prefer that they get the one-shot vaccination. So that's another piece of it too, as opposed to having to get one like some of us did and wait 3 weeks.
Any other questions out there?
Eric, let me say one thing real quick.
Yeah.
If you've followed our schedule over the years, it's going to look a little bit different this year. We'll essentially be playing 6-day homestands. Monday is always a travel day. And for purposes of 2021, we will play the same team every day of a 6-game homestand or of a 6-game road trip to minimize travel. So you look at our season starting on May the 11th. We've got Toledo coming in, and we will play them the 11th through the 16th, and then travel on that Monday. So it'll be interesting because 6-game series in baseball are not something that has really been done. So whether this will be a 2021 thing only or not, I'd say that the Monday travel day is locked in probably long term, but down the road, maybe we see Louisville for 3 games and Toledo for 3 games. But this year it's 1 homestand, 1 opponent.
And there's always been a line about why they don't have a long series like that, is that familiarity breeds contempt. And guys on opposing teams get tired of looking at each other. But as Bruce said, they're doing that this year because of COVID. And I think it's a good idea, quite frankly.
Yeah, I was looking at your website. Bruce, I'm glad you walked through that new schedule where Tuesday is your dollar menu, Wednesday day games, Friday fireworks, etc. So thanks again, Howard and Bruce, for joining us today. It means a lot. Like Trina said, for you to come out each year. It'll be nice next year when we can get a couple of the players back out to join us for the interview process. And like you were saying, Howard, it would have been neat to talk to a 6'7" shortstop. That would have been fun. But we'll make a donation today in your name towards the Patachou Foundation. They address pervasive food insecurity in a radically different way, including partnering with 8 Indianapolis area schools and 4 community centers to serve 1,200 plus youth each week. Please join us next week. Our guest will be Randy Mobley, commissioner of the International Baseball League. We had one of Jay Brill's interclubs on Monday, where a few of us joined the Augusta, Georgia club to hear about the history of the Masters. So that was very special. Please join us on April 22nd. We're going to do an 11 p.m. interclub with Tokyo. Everyone on the call joining us from Tokyo speaks English. So they'll have a history of their club, a history of our club. So that'll be fun, as Jay has taken over from Mr. Marbaugh and kind of ran with the interclub in the time of COVID. And one last question for Howard. One came in from Roger. Do most new Indians come from AA or college or somewhere else?
Well, some of them do come from college, but even if they go to college, they usually start out in A ball, and now, by the way, the minor leagues have shrunk. It's something I should point out. We do not have rookie ball anymore or short season ball. The minor leagues went from 162 teams to 120 teams. The short season was eliminated. So most of the Indians come from AA, but some have come from college and some from high school, but they've worked their way up, and AAA is one notch below the major leagues. So now, instead of having 162 teams, you have 120, and each team has a AAA team, a AA team. That hasn't changed, and one high A and one low A. I should point out to you that we're no longer called the International League. And Randy Mobley, I think from what I heard, Bruce, those offices are open till June 1st, and then the league offices will be shut down.
Yeah, as long as Howard mentioned that, let me say something about that real quick. Randy Mobley is a remarkable guy. He's a lot of the success we've had in the International League is from having him as a leader. He's one of the entities in this that's kind of getting the short end of the stick, because Major League Baseball wants us to report directly to them without an intermediary and a league president. So Randy, through no fault of his own, but I think I think you'll find him interesting. He's got a lot of experience in the game. It is pronounced Mobley, by the way. And I would encourage you to be on that Zoom call. That's a week from today, I believe, and I'm gonna try to be on it too. He's an impressive guy, and I feel badly. And as we've kind of gone through all this with the major leagues, I know he's seen this coming for a long time, but it hasn't changed his the way he works with us, the way he tries to support us, the way he's tried to fight for us. He's a great one, and I wish him every future success as International League office winds down.
No, I appreciate that, Bruce Mobley. Got it. Young Kaylee, would you mind telling us a little bit about what your club has been up to?
Yeah, so basically, it's a struggle because of COVID and everything. We don't have as much freedom, I guess, as I heard the girls earlier from the high school, the Key Club have. We are only allowed to do one in-person meeting a month, which has been a huge struggle because it's really hard to do service with each other and talk with each other and get people involved through a Zoom meeting. But we have decided that we're going to start doing plarn and make plarn blankets for homeless. So we have, this is my plarn ball right here. We got, we're taking everyone's old trash bag, or not trash bags, but like bags from Walmart and stuff like that, the plastic bags that aren't very biodegradable and everything. And we're making yarn and we're going to crochet them together. And that's something good that in our in-person meetings, we can all collect the bags and teach people how to do it. And then virtually we can all sit there and make our plarn balls together. We just had a fundraiser. We had a Chipotle fundraiser. We raised around $80, I think. Not as good as our first semester one. We raised a lot more money in first semester by selling noodles, but it was still successful and we still had fun. We have our next in-person meeting is going to be at the end of April, and we're going to be cleaning up trash in our community around our campus and stuff like that. Just kind of being socially distanced, walking around outside. And yeah, is there any questions? I don't really know what else to say.
Now, have you all started to plan activities for the fall?
Slightly, yes. So I was elected president again for next year. So hopefully I'll be able to continue. And we want to, because we had a bunch of things planned for this year that we weren't able to do because of COVID. So we want to get back into going to like community gardens and stuff like that. I know that we want to start doing like clothes drive and stuff and working with Salvation Army and stuff like that. Like Key Club does and like you do. And we looked into working or volunteering at an animal shelter, and we made some dog toys for animal shelters. So that was fun. But yeah, it's still kind of a toss up because we don't know if we're going to be in person or virtual. So we have all these ideas to do, but we don't know if we're going to be able to do them, you know?
Oh, we know. No, I appreciate that. Mr. Jeff Otis, we've got about a minute left. Would you mind, has anything changed with Kiwanis International Convention in Salt Lake City? Are Roger and I heading out to Salt Lake City?
So the Salt Lake City convention was canceled for the second year in a row. We know there'll be people that'll be able to get out to Salt Lake City, but we know that our international folks most likely will not be able to get out to Salt Lake City. Matter of fact, I just got off the phone with our Belgium office. They're locking down again for another month starting Saturday. So things aren't very good there. The board felt like it would be unfair for the United States members to elect everybody and decide all the amendments. So they decided to cancel it. There'll still be a education conference there in Salt Lake City, but everything else will be decided by council, which is basically the governors.
Okay, so I'm going to go out for the education then. Roger, I hope you're still able to join me. Again, thanks everybody for joining us today. Bruce and Howard, thanks for your decades of support to the city and your decades of support for the Downtown Kiwanis Club. I know the Schumacher family has always been a huge supporter of ours. And again, thanks for everybody's time today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And thanks for joining us for the world's greatest Kiwanis Club. And we'll see you next week. Meeting's adjourned.